Hello, everybody. Today we're going to discuss... Oh, what's this first set called?
What lies ahead.
What lies ahead.
We're going to discuss what lies ahead. That's totally going to be in the bloopers.
Bloopers, main page.
My name is Nam.
I'm Jeremy.
I'm Jason.
This is the first video we're bringing him on for. I can't speak English today. I've had half of a drink.
And lightweight.
I'm also Asian.
I said nothing.
We're going to start talking about what lies ahead.
Well, I'll say this. Most important thing with what lies ahead was the fact that each corporation got a new agenda. This gave us actual design space for agendas. We weren't absolutely limited to what came in the core. Everything else you could kind of flex, build different things, except agendas. Once these were introduced, you could actually do different things, which was very nice.
Earlier on in the days of just the base set, priority requisition basically had to go in everything. So.
Right,
yeah.
And private security force, like it or not. So we had to use all
Private
those
security
neutrals.
force.
And this pack did come with an ice for each of the factions.
That which helped as well.
We just mentioned agendas, so let's talk about all of them.
First of all, this set introduces the project idea. Project agendas, the idea is you can over-advance them to get a bonus of some type. For instance, this one you put tokens on to lower the res cost of ice. This one you put on tokens that you can remove to search your deck for cards. I think it's obvious which one's more powerful. It's also more relevant because you only need one per counter. This you need two over by counter. What's the highest you've gotten Brain Trust?
Only one counter on Brain Trust.
I got two once.
Once?
Yes,
And that was
once.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm going to get two on Brain Trust this time. I'm doing it. And I barely pulled
And you
it
did
off.
that out of spite,
Yeah.
right? It wasn't like it was
yeah.
going to win you the game.
It was
or
not
anything.
a power
No.
move. It was, I'm doing this, darn it.
But 2, 3 on Project Atlas for Whaley?
Easy. Oh, absolutely.
All the time.
No,
Absolutely.
definitely. Like you can wait for this, and the bang will be much better for your buck.
Well, quite literally. With
This
Yes.
was the source
So-
of one of my losses at regionals. Someone
Somebody's-
put two counters on it, hostile takeover.
Scorched.
Oh, ouch.
No, it was hostile takeover, hostile
Oh,
takeover.
I
They were
see.
doing a speed technique.
And then Brain Trust, like, it could save you a little bit of money, but most of the time, once you res most of the ice, it will stay face up. So it's not like you get extra benefit unless they turn it face down, or you
Right.
have Cell Portal, or
Yeah.
something that's going
I
to
think long term it could potentially be something. Because when I've gotten one counter on that, that's helped quite a bit.
Yeah, I think...
Yeah.
But
you have to get it
technically
early.
with its limited ice and its
Yeah.
limited stuff.
It's really a 3-2. That's the main feature.
If you're curious why we keep saying 3-2s are good, because you can play it down, let it sit there. They don't know it's an agenda because you haven't advanced it. So then you can go 1, 2, 3 the next turn.
Especially with Jinteki, you have all the tricks, so this can potentially hide for a turn.
Right.
But
Much easier to score than, say, Nisei. Which
once
you
you advance it once, they know.
On the complete opposite end of the spectrum is Mandatory Upgrades, which is a super powerful effect, gives you an extra click per turn, but it's a 3-turn agenda without tricks, which
You better
it
be
is-
really protected.
It is rough.
Yes.
It's great in a more limited casual play, but this is not a competitive card at
Not
all.
right now.
It's very, very difficult to get, especially now. I think as more people play Runner and they become more aggressive. I'm going to tell you guys something that was told to me once. Basically, this guy felt that the Runner could not win. Basically, the corporation should win all the time, and the only way to win as Runner is to play aggressively. I kind of took that, and I ended up losing a ton of Runner games just because I played stupidly. And then one day Jeremy told me, "You can play aggressive, just play smart." You remember that?
Yeah.
You don't have to be berserker.
Yeah, that's good.
And Big Ice Super Server has really kind of lost a lot of its potency, so this 3 turns is really painful to keep around.
And we'll get to why in later packs why Big Guys really lost
A
its
lot of
its
traction,
footing.
yeah. The last agenda is a restructured data pool, 5 to advance, 3-pointer. Great way to just give runners tags if you need to, especially for tag and bag. But again, it's a 5 advancement. It's 2 turns.
Yeah, but it's not a
It's
3-turn. It's doable.
It's
Yeah.
not a 3-turn. It's doable. But again, it's an expensive
Like
one for NBN. If you
like-
want to do a rush deck, sometimes this is just to get up to 20 points. To get
It's
in
us
there.
3. We're not exactly
Yeah.
knocking the doors on World Championships.
No.
We can play 5-3.
No, we can play
Yes,
that.
we
We
can
can
play
play some
5-3s.
5-3s.
Okay, actually, I sometimes overloaded a deck with 5-3s just to lower the number of agendas in there.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. The other ones are fast.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not taking a bunch of 5-3 deck to big competition, but in our games, we score 5-3s relatively.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
definitely.
pretty frequently.
It's not that bad.
I've seen Mandatory Upgrades scored twice in like maybe
Which, when it happens,
a
is
ton of games,
brutal.
but
it's brutal. That extra click.
I scored it 3 times in one game.
It's so what in one. Well, hold on. After you score it the first time, it's actually easier to score.
Yes. Then
Well,
it's
it
a,
is.
Then it's a 2-turn.
It is,
Yeah.
but I lived the dream. You didn't know I lived the dream.
No, I didn't know you lived the
I
dream.
did Melange twice in one turn.
What? That's so good.
6 clicks, ladies and gentlemen. 6 clicks.
Oh man! Like I thought having one click was one extra click was nice once because you can still do Melange and then do something else. But doing Melange twice is really ridiculous.
Yes, I'm sorry, Scott. I'm really sorry.
No, he's not.
He's not.
I am sorry. I am sorry. Because I could have won the game. I could have won the game that time, but I was like, I got to do it once, Blanche. And I got this look.
Did you still win?
Yeah, I still won.
Okay, all right.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, it was. I
Would
had
have been better if you
I
hadn't,
had so much
poetic
ice
justice.
and so much. It was ridiculous.
Just so you could say you've done it once.
Exactly.
In a legit game.
Exactly.
Like it's, you know.
That's what I was going for.
Nice.
Oh, quick question. Was this a league game?
What? No.
Okay.
This is
No.
before League started. Of
Does-
course, it was before League
Yeah.
started.
Just as a general thing, there's this league at the local shop that we play at. It's called Millennium
Millennium
Games in
Games.
Rochester, New
Yep.
York. And Jeremy's actually going to be running it soon, right?
Yep, season 2 of the league, so that'll be exciting.
We actually got a lot of play time in there. We'll talk about it another time, or maybe a little bit more sprinkling later. Jeremy could not win in the league.
I have a thing where if the game is recorded on paper, my deck goes, nope, we're done here. And then I'll immediately play after a completely casual game and crush the person with the same deck.
It would actually
Same decks.
same
every
decks.
time.
It was really bad. He would basically yell at me from across the store. No, look at this, and then he'd pull out his deck and just be like, oh, like all the agendas were on the bottom or something,
Or all on the top.
Yeah, or all
one
on
or
the
the
top.
other.
On the top, or there was the runner game where all of my breakers and all of the tutors
Were
were
all
on
on
the
the
bottom
bottom, yes.
10
Yes.
cards of the deck.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
So I'm
hard.
sitting here going, economy card, hardware.
Lots of money.
I can't
Lots of
break
money.
anything. I did multiple turns of draw. Nothing. Discard cards. Draw. What the heck is going on? I had piles of cash. It was crazy.
And you could not spend it. That was yeah. I'm sorry.
What lies ahead, gentlemen?
Yes,
lies
what
ahead?
lies
What lies
ahead?
ahead?
Okay, we finished talking about agendas. Okay, we're going to talk about the ice now and what
Okay.
lies ahead.
All right.
Sure.
Because
Yes.
we had mentioned that there was
Yep.
one of each.
Yep, there is one of each ice and one neutral as well.
Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5 ice.
Yeah. He's
All right.
he's referring to the
Okay.
upgrade, Ash,
upgrade, Ash.
2x3, etc. Just Ash, as some other podcasts have said.
It's pseudo ice.
Yes,
Here's the
very
cool thing
much
about this
so.
ice. It's like trap ice. Have you thought of it this way?
You bait them into running all your ice and
Right,
paying
right.
for it all.
It's a
and then they don't
subroutine-
get to see anything.
Yeah.
It's a
valuable.
subroutine that says end the run on a trap ice.
Right.
Because they either have to beat the trace. If they can't beat the trace, it ends the run. They're probably still going to trash it.
Right.
But it's a good way because they don't access any cards.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like red herrings, but a little better.
Yeah, well, the
Yeah.
little better part of this is, say you're actually, it's an upgrade, so say you're actually hiding a trap asset and wanting them to think it's an agenda. So they run it later, after trashing it, to find it's a trap.
Here's the problem with the Ash, and it's going to be a big problem with in general with the more we expand on this game. Runners have less than required for their deck. Am I right?
Yes.
They
Yeah.
need breakers. They need money. They need tricks and all that stuff. But there's more room in a runner deck
I
to
will
add
agree.
tricks.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas a corp deck, agendas are required. You need a
Right.
bunch of ice,
Right.
and you need economy.
Right.
There's not a whole lot of room for tricks, and this is a great trick, but good.
And runners don't always need a lot of decks. There was one historic game where I didn't draw any cards as runner. I played 2, and I won
yeah.
against
Yeah.
Jeremy, and it was kind of painful.
Well, that was also
Painful for
a
him.
league game.
It's good
It was
for
also
you.
Remember that was a league
It
game.
was
It
a
was
league
a
game.
game, yes.
That's
so
legit.
the trend continues.
Yes.
But it's possible.
So there's a
So
lot more
fitting-
room for runner tricks, where corp tricks you have
A
space is a
couple.
premium.
Yes, you have a couple. It is a good trick, but it is
Yeah, it's because
one
you-
among many now.
It's because you have to run all those agendas. So what I found was you had to cut something when I was making corp decks, and I wanted to fit these other tricksy cards in there. I had to cut something from somewhere. So sometimes it would be economy, sometimes it would be ice.
And then you pay for it later.
And obviously, in many of the games that I played with those decks, I definitely paid for them all the time. So
Right.
So this card right here, one of my favorite cards that I never play.
Good way to put it. Good way to put
It really is. I barely ever
Yeah.
play it. I love that card, but I barely ever play it.
I've seen it work in a deck where you don't try and make too many remotes. So if you just make
Yeah.
like one remote and you protect your hand and deck, and that's all you need, you just have that one remote protected. Yeah.
I like this in Wayland. Partially because with Wayland, if you're using the transaction identity,
Yeah.
you get a lot of your money from operations, so you're not necessarily needing money
So
assets.
you don't need
Right.
So you have your one big server, you're putting like Archer and Hadrian's Wall and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Then you
exactly.
have that on there as like a backup plan.
Right.
That's nice in there.
Yeah, and if you install it alone, it can also bait them into paying.
It's not a pro move or anything, but I do like it in Wayland. It does its job very well if you can fit it in the deck.
Right.
Right, okay.
Exactly. Now, the one issue with all of the ice in this pack, in my mind, is most of it is porous or in the case of the one that actually says end the run, doesn't always stay rezzed. And that can sometimes become an issue with usage.
Okay.
I think
The best...
I think this is a solid piece of ice. I think
Caduceus,
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 come on.
Cockadicus.
Put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable.
Yes.
What was the name of the vice presidential candidate?
Oh,
Dukakis.
Dukakis the ice.
This
yes.
officially is
Dukakis
Dukakis.
the
All right,
ice.
Dukakis the ice. I like this. I think this is pretty good, especially early game. It's really powerful.
Yeah, it's strength 3, so it's not like they can... If they were to use Ninja, for example, it would still require a pump. If it was like 1, they could do some tricks to increase the strength.
They can get through it if they don't have breakers. But I think it is relatively tough to get through without breakers.
It's quite expensive. Yes. Like most of the time, you'll probably get the money. Like unless it's really critical that you don't, the runner probably won't care and they won't expend.
Or if they're going big on lane.
Now, probably the weakest of these in my mind though is Snowflake.
I've tried to make it work, doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly, because it's a blind 33% chance they're going to get through without a breaker, no matter what. They just match the number of bits you spend, 0, 1, or 2, and they're through.
Oh, so, FYI, just as a clarity's sake, both of these guys played the original Netrunner, so bits is actually credits the original version.
I apologize.
It's okay. I just want to draw that out for anybody who's watching now who doesn't know anything about the original.
Yes.
I was actually privy to a couple lessons from Jeremy here about the original.
We played outdoors.
We played
earthy Netrunner.
Yeah, Netrunner outdoors, first time ever for both of us.
Yeah, Snowflake is...
Snowflake, unfortunately, is another weak Jinteki ice that just doesn't
I like the creativity, but it's...
Yeah, unfortunately, 1 for 3 strength barrier is a nice thought.
The one thing is, I understand how they're... Like, before Android Netrunner, you could hide any number, any amount of credits or bits.
Well, the old trace mechanic.
The old trace mechanic. So I think this is kind of stemming off of that, but they kind of wanted to limit it. But
yeah.
I think
well, no, they had mechanics like this in the old one.
They did.
They had ones just like this in the old one. And I like what it's doing here. The thing is...
It's fun, it's just not so effective.
And it's also one of those things, it's a 1 for a 3 strength.
Right. And it's a barrier, and if the runner doesn't want to deal with it, it's pretty easy to break most of the time anyway. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So there's that.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Then there's the other barrier, which is TMI, which always misfires at the worst times.
Like I said, this is the only one that really has end the run on it, but... You gotta keep it rest.
Dukakis has end the run.
But it's a trace to end the run. Even
Draco
if successful,
to
end the run.
But it's a trace to end the run. It's not a guarantee.
This is a trace to end the run, technically.
Yeah, technically this is a trace.
Once it's rezzed, it always ends the run, though.
Yeah, when you res TMI, trace 2. If unsuccessful, derez TMI. Technically, what's the big difference here? I mean... To the corporation, it's basically a different amount of money.
Well, you know what the difference to the corporation is with this one right here?
Yeah.
It's called, if you're not playing NBN making news, don't use this ice.
Right. But once you get it rezzed, it's
real
cheap, 5 strength, and the run barrier. It's solid if you can get it rezzed at the right
5 strength is actually pretty good. So.
Same as Wall of Thorns.
Yeah.
It's solid. I keep trying to make it work, and it's just like, oh, when I don't need it to really stop something, it worked great. Right. When I really need it to work, it's like
they'll pay the
I don't have enough to do it.
Go through it and res it. The one big scary one, Janus or Janus if you want to actually pronounce the words, but Janus 1.0, huge 8 strength ice, 4 brain damage, 4 routines. Now, this can be a real big deterrent. Let's say it's the game-winning point. I've plowed right through this. Taking it all on the chin.
I've taken 4 brain damage.
And 1 with 6 brain damage.
Yeah, that was our other league game.
Yeah, with 6 brain damage. Because you got to remember, brain damage in hand size resolves at the end of your turn. So, huge deterrent.
15 cost.
15 cost is where you really want some assistance.
And then the doggy shows up and...
Like a priority requisition or something else, but unfortunately later there are cards that just take big ice and just strangle it.
Yeah.
So,
now that being said, you can spend a click as the runner to get through each one, so you don't even necessarily have to take all 4. You can just run on your first one, prevent 3 of it with your other clicks.
And take 1 and
be
on your merry.
Relatively not that bad.
I love it. It's great, but it's big. 15. In old Netrunner, 15 is doable. This one less so. You're putting everything into getting that ice rezzed. So if that ice being rezzed doesn't put you in a solid position, you're in bad
shape. So the last of these, which we mentioned briefly, is Draco, the neutral ice.
I like Draco.
I like Draco a lot. I still use it a lot.
Draco gets a lot of crap online, and I like it a lot.
Right. I mean, if you want, what's great for this is stopping breakers like Ninja.
Put 1 on.
Put 1 counter on it. Pay 1 to res, 1 to put a second counter. Yeah. It's great to get that stopper in. If you really have a lot of money and really need to stop him, you can pour it in. But you have to remember, it's not only the strength of this, it's also the trace.
When you res Draco, you get the chance to put any number of they're not
power
they're power counters, so they're different. But that increases the strength. You can have infinity strength, and if that doesn't matter if they can still break the trace, because there's only one.
Still pay more than you.
One subroutine, and it's a trace 2, so it's not even that high a trace.
I like it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: it's not a stone wall. It's definitely not a stone
definitely
wall,
not.
But it's a good speed bump.
for $2, a 1 power strength sentry can do quite a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it definitely has its
a good
role.
tax.
Earlier game, much more effective than
Again,
the late game.
yeah.
I would overwrite this if need be.
End game, you're sitting on a lot of money as a Waylander and HB. You can pay a lot of money to make this really stick. You can leverage it later, but not as often as you might like.
Runner.
So,
There's also
let's talk about the one identity.
Yeah, let's talk about
the new identity is Hospiroid Stronger Together. So instead of being the other HB identity, you could be this one. So let's talk about its ability first. So its ability is all Bioroid Ice has +1 strength. Now let's compare that to the other one.
No, let's
Let's just talk about this
just talk about that.
Yeah.
All right, let's just talk about this.
that.
Okay.
Yeah. The one big caution for people who've tried to use this identity, not all HB Ice are Bioroids.
Yes, you
It's
have
gotta
to find
be,
the keyword
ice,
on the side.
Sentry Barrier, whatever code gate, it's got to have the keyword Bioroid there to be increased.
And it also doesn't affect their ability to click through.
It doesn't. The strength doesn't always matter if they're planning on clicking.
It's a nice identity. It's a nice ability. Here's the problem: the other one's just better. It's just so much better.
You have you have a lot more efficiency with the other one.
Yeah. The economic gain from
It's the theme of both identities
engineering
from
the
this pack.
future. Yeah.
It's a theme of both identities from this pack.
Right.
They have good abilities.
Right.
They're kind of cool. Wizard is the other Anarch. He has 3 reoccurring credits for trashing cards. It's a good ability. It's pretty cool.
Right.
The other one's just so much better.
Noise, getting possibly agendas right into the archives for you just works out.
It has so much more impact
better.
on the game.
Yeah, like they have to then think about defending archives. Here, they would never install anything on archives that
it's economic denial. It helps you dig, but it's just not quite potent.
They're the poor younger brother, younger sister of the overachiever.
Yes.
No matter what they do, it's not as good as the other one.
Right. They can be a lot of fun. We have one guy in our league who loves playing Wizard and does it pretty well.
We're talking about you, Mick.
I think Mick does this, and also there was 2 guys at the Dice Tower convention that did this. If you guys are watching, hi. They played Wizard just to make it work. I can make Wizard work. I'll show you not to like Wizard.
I am the Wizard.
Right. I am the Wizard.
You are Harry Potter.
They were the Wizard guys.
Okay.
Now their decks worked. I mean, they weren't bad. The one guy got second in the little tourney we did, but it's still Wizard, and if you build around noise, his abilities powerful.
Yes.
I do want to say that for the Bioroid identity, right now, or at least just with the first couple of data packs, you might not see that much impact. But I think as time goes on and there's more Bioroid Ice, we're actually starting to see that now.
Yeah, some of the deluxe expansions that are later on really kind of give this a little more teeth.
At the time of recording this, we were recording this at the end of the Genesis cycle.
Yes.
But before we've all fully integrated ourselves into command and control.
All right, where do we want to go? Do we want to start with factions, or we want to go to this one first?
I want to go to the big meta-changing one.
Now, here's the question for you. Which side of the camp are you on? Are you in the camp of, oh, Scorched Earth was too bad, they had to print this? Or are you in the camp of, no, they had this plan, they just let us have Scorched Earth for a little bit and then showed us, all right, now you can handle Scorched Earth?
I think they planned it. I think it was the latter. I think they knew this was coming. What we see now, kind of at the end of the Genesis cycle, is this card, when it first came out, was everywhere. Everywhere. But now people are learning how to play around Scorched Earth or use other ways to deal with them. There's other cards later that help.
A lot of deck lists online still use this.
Still a huge card, still big. It does enable the tag me strategy that's been really prevalent, especially with criminals. It does enable that very well, so you don't care about dying due to tags.
There is other ways to work around Scorched Earth, but this is the best anti-Scorched Earth card. There's also the fact that testers talked about how they had the whole Genesis cycle by the time the base game came in.
Yes.
Oh, I see. Okay. Plascrete Carapace. We had a regional basically where we were, and I actually ran this in the deck in fear of it. For the most part, I pretty much almost never ran into Scorched Earth ever. So
yeah, but you also slapped that down and they changed the battle plan.
That's true.
And that did happen to me a few times. As the game got done, and the guy says, "Look, I've had 2 Scorched Earths, and your hand has been too full."
I had that in my regional decks, and if I was playing Wayland or NBN, as soon as I had that, bam, down. Yeah. I saw their shoulders slump a little bit, and they changed it up.
Bringing up Project Atlas, to me, this is a nice compliment. Say they get 1 Plascrete down. If you can get Project Atlas over advanced, being one of those project types as we mentioned, you can get a second, a third Scorched Earth to really pound them and overcome Plascrete. So it's not a dead stopper, but it definitely makes it more difficult for a Scorched Earth deck to scorch you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as long as you're, somewhat aware of those tags, it's not like they're going to pull off 3 in one turn. You can throw down another one.
Yeah, you
That's
can
true.
throw down a second or a third as they come. So it's not a dead stop, but I think it's a healthy dynamic.
Yeah.
I don't think it was an apology.
Jeremy and I actually had a discussion about this right before, and I didn't really know anything about the development cycle, but there were a lot of people that were talking, basically comparing this to Crash Space. And the fact of the matter is, Crash Space is a resource, so if you were tagged anyway, they could trash it
And then
scorch Earth you. However, he did bring up a good point, which I wanted to bring up here, is that the corporation only has 3 clicks, so if they were going to do shenanigans that required searching their deck, it would require that extra click for them to take out Crash Space. So it would buy you that time.
Right.
And still giving you that time to play with Scorch Earth with the base set before they release this with the first datapack.
Crash Space is still an answer to Scorched Earth. That's just a better one.
Right.
I like Crash Space for the recurring credits.
Yes.
That's why.
If you're going to keep the tags away, great way to do it.
Well, let's keep going
Yes.
across the thing. How about the runner Janus?
The runner Janus.
It is Morningstar.
Morningstar.
It's
Yes.
awesome. It's
It just
just
costs
8
so much
and
money.
2 memory.
And it's not, the 9 cost of Fem, you get a lot of mileage out of Fem.
You get This is limited.
It's more limited. Now, there are some beautiful things you can do with it. You get an Ice Carver out, you get a Tinkering, pay 1 to get through an Archer. Done it. It's a beautiful thing. The 1 to break any number of subroutines is what sells this card, but it's so much money for what it does. And in a faction that has Corroder, most people regard as the best barrier breaker.
I like it, but I've actually never found a use for it if I can use Corroder instead, because there's 3 types of ice. This is only 1/3 chance of the end. If you really think about the ones that you have to worry about, Heimdall you can click through. Wall of Ice only has 1 anyway. Wall of Static has one subroutine anyway.
Yes, and the ones you'd really, Hadrian's Wall is too big. It's 7. So,
Well, the card this one really hates is Ice Wall.
Yes.
Because if I have Ice Wall and they slap it down, I go advance, yep. And then they're
it's
like,
out of reach.
oh, yay, that 1 cost ice is now can't
giving the finger to
Morningstar.
And in actuality, Ice Wall is being used a lot because it's very cheap.
Common,
it ends the run. You can res it on the first turn if the runner has it.
It's so good.
It's really good.
You can pump it to bigger strength later.
And a 1 influence.
So how much have you guys used Spinal Modem?
I've actually switched back to a Kate deck. Sorry, Gabe. I love you, but Kate's a girl.
So, Spinal Modem, I've only ever used it when I built decks around it. I mean, you really have to be prepared to not get a trace successful during a run, or you just eat brain damage.
I like it because I was running a Shaper deck with Kate and running the toolbox.
Shaper?
Sure.
Sorry.
But yeah, I was using it for the recurring credits
English
just to
majors.
pay. Wait, I'm not English major.
Oh, I thought you were. Oh,
No.
okay.
I have a physics degree.
Yeah, that's right.
Computer science.
I'm not exactly using it.
Well, we digress. So I found that it was actually a cheaper and slightly more cost-effective replacement for the toolbox. Only because in my Shaper build, I used to run all 3 of... There was another card that gave you more link and all the rabbit holes. And that helped immensely. The problem is, if you are not running this where you have link, you run the risk of taking brain damage.
Right.
Because I wouldn't run without knowing that I could do it.
Also, I haven't used this as much. It's one of the cards that I want to use more that I just haven't. Because I've done certain archetypes and it hasn't fit in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What I like to do is I'll go up against something. I'll take that brain damage with a bunch of money. And the girl will be, oh, if I pay this much, I'll give him a brain damage. And they waste all their money. I'm just like, all right, I'll put nothing into it. Now I have all this money to break into everything.
Yeah.
And they're like, and it takes a second. They realize, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Key thing with this card is most people are like, oh, well then C-Source will give you brain damage.
No, it's
That's
during
not
the
during
run.
a run only. So
Yes.
keep that in mind.
Right.
It is usable. However, again, we have another instance of this is good, but its brother is better because Grimoire just loading the viruses on those viruses.
This is an Anarch console. And,
It's
and
just
Grimoire is
just better for that.
Yeah.
So
I'll agree it's the best. Yeah, Grimoire is better in our console. But when you run this in some other deck that has tons of link, this could actually be better than other ones. So just keep that in mind.
Yep.
next,
All right.
part of the pack.
All right. I think undeniably that Jeremy and I agreed this was one of the
the standout cards in this pack. Really.
In the pack. Imp. So basically, it's a program, costs 2 to play, 1 memory, and it's a virus, so it plays into Noise's ability.
Yep.
And when you play it, it has 2 virus counters on it initially. And if you had Grimoire out, it gets another one, and it is in Anarch. But once per turn, you can remove a hosted virus counter from Imp to trash a card. You don't have to actually pay any trash costs, you just trash it.
Well,
even if you didn't even... You couldn't even trash it normally.
Right. I mean, you can trash ice. It can help with R&D digs. It can be economic denial for those big
Fast
trash
advance
cost
cards
assets.
Gone.
Fast,
Yep.
Yeah. Biotic labor. Sansan just gone.
Sansan gone.
Biotic labor, yeah.
But Scorched Earth. I've gotten
used it on pad
Scorched Earth.
campaigns.
I've gotten Scorched Earth.
Oh yeah,
out of
using it on
Wayland's
pad
hand.
campaigns is really good.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to pay the 4, but...
And then what does Imp do that no other thing with counters does? Or with money on it? Doesn't go away when they leave.
Yes, it
Yeah.
stays in play.
Yes.
So Aesop goes, nom nom.
Hey, hey, hey.
nom,
Aesop loves this
Why are you
card.
chanting my name?
It's a good name.
nom. Touche.
Are you calling me yummy?
But now, the other thing that this can do is a lot of people started getting afraid of it, and it would induce them to clear virus counters. You pay 2, and they clear virus counters? That's worth
Yeah,
it.
they've wasted
So-
a turn. Totally.
Card is
Yeah.
awesome.
So there's
I love
just
him.
so much utility here. And one of the beautiful, weird tricks, once in a blue moon, trash an agenda through a red herrings.
Actually,
Or trash a fetal AI without 2 money. I wonder.
Yes!
Wait, who did Jason do that to?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
Oh,
Why do I
yes.
suck at this game?
but yeah,
Yes,
I had to do this once.
Yes.
Why do I suck at
But yeah, Imp, so versatile, so usable. I'd say definitely the card of
Yeah.
the data.
And if you have an Anarch deck that it's not in, you better have a really good reason. I'm not saying it's an auto-include, but it's awfully darn close.
All right, ready? Let me see if I can do this. I can do this without any of the comments from you guys. See if I
Okay.
pull this
Sure,
off. Ready?
sure, sure.
Hey, criminal, look, you get a code gate breaker. It's not great, but it's not crap. Peacock.
You want to know what that reminds me of? Anybody ever heard that Katy Perry song?
You just compared me to a Katy Perry song? What is going on? I failed. I have failed.
Oh.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Just take nom-
But you know what song I'm
Mumble
talking
away.
about, right? Oh, there's actually a song called Peacock.
Oh, is it? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Wow.
Yes.
All right, I thought
That's
maybe it was my
unfortunate.
explanation that
Oh,
made me know Katy
okay,
Perry
okay.
song.
No.
So one card. There's one thing I got to say about this card. It is not named Zoo. It's
It's
not.
Zool.
It's Zool. It's Leet Speak. .13 LE. It's Zool. This
Definitely
kind
Zool, but I actually didn't read into it that much, even though I did see all the Ghostbuster movies. But I called it Zoo for like
Not Zoo.
2 weeks.
Not Zoo. Pet peeve now. Sorry.
I am the keymaster, you the gatekeeper.
Yeah. Okay. But continuing the trend, Zool is a great code gate breaker. It's very cheap and very effective.
I like it.
I like it a lot. Don't always use. I mean, it's a good breaker without the cloud effect of not costing MU if you have 2 or more lanes.
Oh, yeah. By the way, this
So-
introduces the cloud effect.
Yes, this was
the
the
idea
best one.
of hosting programs on the net that doesn't use up your memory.
Right.
So if you have enough link, it doesn't cost memory.
Right.
It's a cool. I think it's a
Yeah.
really cool mechanic.
It's a really cool mechanic, and especially in Shaper, that's very program centric. Freeing up an MU for a reasonably good
But I-
breaker is a good thing, and this can be free with Kate's ability, and could be a good
I really
Aesop
love
card
the
right?
thematic feel of the cloud ability. It's also kind of modern and something that's something the old Netrunner definitely didn't have.
No, not at all.
It's
So-
really cool effects. Here's a question for you. Shaper's already had debatably the best code gate breaker.
Right. Gordian
Well,
Blade
I mean,
in the core.
Yeah,
yes.
0.0
Yes.
is amazing, but let's put that aside.
Yes.
Is this better than Gordian Blade?
To me, it's situational. If you got the money, I would go with Gordian Blade.
Say no.
I think
Say no.
it depends.
Is this worse than Gordian Blade? No.
No.
I consider them pretty equal. It's one or the
Yeah,
other.
I think
Right,
they
it's what
both
you
have
want.
their...
It's
They
what you
work
want.
better in different
Niche.
decks.
Yes, and the nice thing for other factions is this is only 2 influence. Gordian Blade was 3.
Three.
That's
This
the
is
big
a
thing.
great
There's
thing
the big
for
That's
criminal, especially for grabbing a nice
Yeah.
pumpable code gate. This is a good choice.
Speaking of our last talk, though, I use Peacock a lot, and it doesn't
Yeah,
work bad.
yeah.
It
Peacock
works well for
definitely
me.
Yeah.
works, but this
I think-
is an option that's, I think, a better splash for Gordian just to save on the influence.
I think the one benefit that Gordian does have over this is that when you pump Gordian's strength, it remains for the rest of the run. That's really the only major thing. But
Right.
out of faction, if you need a code gate breaker,
good one to consider.
Zool is good.
Helpful AI.
Yep.
This card's nice.
It's nice, and one of the
Nice.
things to think, it's unique. So you can only have 1 in play at a time. One thing to
nice.
watch out if you do use it to, say, support a cloud breaker, this is trash to increase ice strength. If it's gone and your link drops below 2, you have to trash something. Your memory is too much now.
Well,
so you got to be careful because it is a trashable link.
I think that where this will probably come into play, it is to influence. If you happen to play, this has saved me more than once, playing Anarch with some of their breakers that don't have the ability to increase their strength.
Yeah.
This actually, this actually works out well, I think, in combination with those, or just to save you some money so that you can break.
See, now
so you don't have to
here's
spend
the
it
thing
for
with that though. Here's the thing with that
combo.
though. I like it if I'm pulling an Anarch breaker into Shaper. I've never pulled this out of Shaper. Because, granted, we said Zool is 2 influence, but 2 influence for this effect?
Is not
That's
always
true.
ideal.
Yeah.
And you have so many native options in Anarch to do that. With
Like I said, it's
so.
not like I hate this card, it's not like I haven't put it in a lot of decks, it's just...
It's not worth 2
nice.
influence.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah.
If it was 1 influence, I would use this a lot more out of faction.
Yeah.
I'll probably
I could
agree
see
with that.
I could see that.
It's like the personal touch. Like if you compare that to personal touch, they're both 2 influence, but this
I'll
is a
take personal
one-time
touch
effect.
over that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would actually
definitely.
play personal touch over that as well.
By
Especially
far.
in Anarch,
By
for that's the
far.
effect we're looking for.
Yes,
Yeah,
because you
so-
consistently get the +1 strength.
Yeah.
And the last card, I think, is last for a reason.
Yeah.
Nobody was really very excited about it. Cortez chip, 0 hardware. Okay.
Now-
can be good ASOP food.
I'm not going to ask... Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what's for ASOP
Yeah,
food, in my
ASOP
opinion.
food. Yeah.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question. No, just wait a second.
Sure.
Okay, not me.
Have you ever used this to good effect? Eh?
No.
Okay.
No.
Now,
I haven't. I've heard people using it to make forged activation orders bite, but I haven't.
Now, I'm gonna swing this back. Nom, I know you like this card much more than us.
Okay.
I'm just
Why
curious.
is that, Nom? Because I
Well,
haven't heard this yet.
I've only tried using it in 1 deck.
I know, but you've given it more of a positive view than us, at least.
Yeah, so-
I'm just curious.
so play devil's
I'm not
advocate.
trying to.
No,
I'm
I
not
mean-
trying to rag on you. It's just
You
I know
guys
you like this card
described
more
it.
than me.
It's ASOP food. That's really what it's there for most of the time.
Okay.
Like probably 85% of the time, I use this for money. Now, the only time that I've actually was able to use this was when the corporation's money was low, forge activation orders, as you said, and I knew they couldn't res it because I knew what it was
yeah,
already.
right.
So,
and to me, every time I've tried to do that, it hasn't worked. It's been a pipe dream. So
other than that, I mean, it's only there for versatility's sake for ASOP.
Here's another one. If it was 1 influence, I'd put it in a like a replicator deck as ASOP food.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
It'd be really great
But
for
at
that.
2 influence,
But
it's
But at 2
too-
influence, I'm not
yeah.
going to put. I saw
Yeah.
some deck lists that they put in there. I'm like,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah,
You
too
at least
much.
have some effect.
FYI, I use this as ASOP food in a criminal deck, so this didn't take up anything.
Yeah,
No,
so
yeah,
that makes
that's
some
fine,
more
that's
sense.
fine.
So
That
that's
makes some
okay.
more sense.
But I mean, for the most part, yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Thus far, I've not found an out of
Yeah,
faction
and-
use
and-
for this card.
So you
Right.
turn it into an easy mark.
yeah,
Yeah.
effectively, it's either easy mark or I get the effect 1 time. Now,
Delayed easy mark.
I actually
Yeah.
did play because I did play with it more than it probably sounds like what you guys
Yeah,
are doing.
definitely.
I
That
did
much.
use this once to stop a piece of ice. It was a gamble because I didn't know what it was. So if it was a chum or something tiny,
It
they
would've-
would have been able to res it anyway. But I used it, and I think they only had 9 money. But it was
toll booth.
no, it wasn't a toll booth. It was
War
Wall
Thorns.
thorns,
Wall
maybe?
thorns. It was wall thorns.
That's
Okay.
nice.
and they could
Yeah,
not
yeah.
res it. And I'm
you
like,
just sail
and
through
I went
and-
through. I got the agenda, and that actually won me the game.
See, having played with this though, my experience is always, I'm gonna use this on that ice, and they're like, okay, I wasn't gonna rest that anyways.
Yeah, or oh,
I always get
have
that.
2,
Right.
no problem.
They're
Or I
like,
get
yeah,
the-
either that or sucks to be you.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, ice wall, great.
Yeah, exactly.
Glad I played a card and wasted the use.
I think
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
the one use for this is you have to either know that it's a critical moment and it could be the game-winning moment. You can't just use it willy-nilly early game
Right.
because
And if you
it's then a stupid use at that
yeah,
point.
and if
Like,
you are going to use it, it's good to install it the turn you're going to use it, so it's a surprise.
anything that we all want to mention as far as like deck implications for any of these, I don't think like it opened up the corporation deck space a
Yes.
little bit because
Yep.
of the agendas.
And for that reason, to me, this is one of the most necessary packs because of that opening of deck space.
having those extra agendas is partially necessity, although I don't think by far this is the most powerful pack, just because
yeah,
one
but-
pack is so powerful
Yes,
that it just crushes everything else.
There is
Right.
one that is amazing that we'll get to, but I think this one is a great first time starter one, just to give you lots of options. And
But for me, it comes down to this, and agendas.
All right.
Plascrete and Imp definitely have the most far-reaching implications for the meta. I'd agree.
For me, my disagreement was I do agree with Imp, but I actually liked Zool. the next most. So.
I like it, but
I
it's
use
just-
Zool all the time,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I don't think that defines the pack for me, partially because it is on equal footing in my eyes with Gordian.
Yeah, I don't think there's any debate that Imp is probably the most defining card. Like,
It's so good.
Is there anything else that anybody uses more than Imp here?
Plascrete.
Okay. All right, fine, guys.
And especially in a lot of the criminal decks that are rising to prominence now, Plascrete is a
And,
key
you know,
feature. So.
Ash I want to use.
Yeah.
Janus I love using, but...
I see, to be honest, out of all these, I probably see Janus the most, but...
Unresed or resed?
I see Imp the most.
Oh, I guess I see it at the end after they flip
I would
everything.
contend I see this in decks a lot, but not necessarily played. There's a lot of, I got to discard. I don't need that for
but
this
when
game.
you want it and you need it, it's a
Oh,
great
absolutely.
card.
But Imps, I see.
Yeah,
I
people
see.
draw it
Okay,
and
all
play
right.
it.
You're
I've
probably
seen
right.
Imps in Shaper. It's 3 influence, and I've seen it in Shaper and Criminal, so that they can snipe fast advance.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen it in Shaper. I haven't seen it in Criminal.
Oh, I see it in Criminal.
Okay, all right. You see it in Criminal.
Interesting.
Yeah, because when it hits you in Criminal, you're like,
Where did that
No,
come from? I wouldn't have expected
no.
it. Yeah, I wouldn't have expected
get out of here. You didn't want that in there. You
Yeah.
can just play something else.
it. Yeah, yeah.
See, I see. We haven't gone over that card because that's in a later data pack. But I see Imp recurring with a Shaper card. You can't recur it so easily with a Criminal card.
Well, in criminal you can't. In Anarch there is Deja Vu, so you can.
That's the thing. With Deja Vu, you can get 2 Imps back.
Yeah,
Exactly,
2 imps back
so-
or an imp and a parasite,
Or-
and lots of
yep.
good things, tricks you can
Imp
pull
and
Deja
a
Vu.
Data Sucker is...
Yeah, it's good.
What lies
Alright.
ahead?
So that's what lies ahead.
Other
Trace
packs.
Amount lies ahead.
Trace Amount is
Okay.
next.
All right, now before we go past this pack, all right. So as a general overall view, what did you think of the pack?
I mean, it was a necessity. I remember thinking, oh man, those agendas are going to be so good. I remember having some more ice. I remember I was excited about Draco. I like it, but the cards I use the most are the 3 we just talked about. Zool,
Yeah, those are the
and
three I use
Zool,
most.
Plascrete.
And I
Like-
use Janus.
I'll do like Project Atlas is in basically every Wayland deck for me.
Especially if you want to
Brain
fast
Trust.
advance whaling.
And I go and everyone want to put Ash in every deck, and then it doesn't make many decks.
Yeah.
But that's something. It's a great pack, and it was a necessity. It was a great opener.
Yes.
They
yeah.
gave us a good
Perfect
opener.
opener. It is a great extension
I
to the
agree,
core.
and it actually caused a lot of thought processes to be like, "Ooh, how are we going to use this card? How are we going to use that?"
And-
Because it was so limited before.
and the mechanics that were introduced. Seeing a hint of cloud and seeing hints of other things.
All right, so what do you think of the pack?
I'd go with Jeremy. I think it's more of the most necessary in terms of the variety it offers. Again, not my favorite, not most powerful, but I think a really solid one.
I like the pack. I like all the packs, to be honest. So get them all. You need
Yeah,
them for deck
yeah.
building purposes anyway.
Would you say you got to catch them all?
Gotta get
Yes,
some all.
gotta catch them all.
Are you going to be the very best?
I'm not going to be the very
Like
best.
no one ever was?
I'm going to be like no one ever was.
Never
I'm not going to be the
was.
very best.
We're crossing the streams! Crossing the streams! We're running out of time!
Oh no! Quick, show the timer to the camera.
5, 3, 2.
This is Jeremy!
All right, hold on.
Claudius?
My brother just showed me the timer, so we're going to cut and then we'll start the discussion.
Okay.
Okay.
Is the timer going?
Let me know
Okay.
when. I had 4 cards though to take advantage, but you can plow through. So anyway, Zool, definitely Zool, and it's a boost to a breaker.
I'll put it in
strength.
I've put it in decks, but
Yeah.
other than that,
Right, and yeah,
reaching for in the beginning, it's a filler at the end.
It's a filler. At the,
I
it may
disagree
not be.
there.
It may not be my.
Oh, it's- I-
if
you-
where did that
No,
come from? I wouldn't have expected
no.
it. Yeah. Yes, we're
But
dead.
don't
Shout out to
people-
Mick, but
Don't be
Wizard trash.
Mick doesn't. Okay, they walked around with like cards from a deck of cards with like magicians on it, and they would like whip
so-
them out and hold them up in the air. Wizard in the room.
Oh god.
exactly.
No, they're
you just get too much utility.
They're
out
the
of
poor
that.
younger-
Milling cards.
Here's the key thing with this card.
I
the most,
like it.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, limited it.
That hurt. That
No.
cut to the quick,
No,
my
no.
friend.
Her song is basically the chorus is "I wanna see your peacock, cock, your peacock." Like it's so bad.
Future Nom, you're not allowed to edit that.
Yeah.